Hello friends, I'm Chromatic Sauce and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to draw a rose with a ballpoint pen. Before I get started, I just wanted to remind you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It really helps me out, and don't forget to check out my Instagram at Chromatic Sauce, and let's get on into the video. So for this video, as I said, I'm using a ballpoint pen. This one is a Bic Crystal, or Crystal, I don't know how to pronounce that, and it's 1.6 millimeters. It's just a nice bright blue color. I think it might be a little bit different than a normal ballpoint pen, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just losing it. So I just started with the outline. I just pulled up a picture off of Google and I just started drawing an outline. First I did light strokes. I was going straight in with the pen, no pencil. So I did light strokes to get my general shape down. I wanted to make sure before I added any details, I wanted to make sure that I had the shapes right. And then I started pressing in hard. So my idea for this drawing came about from a drawing I did when I was in college actually. When I was taking a printmaking class, we needed to do some etchings. And basically when I was in class trying to come up with ideas, I just started literally drawing a rose straight from Google, just with a ballpoint pen. When you do etchings, it's literally just lines etched into a piece of metal. So I figured I would just get my sketch down with a pen first. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking of an idea for a video, and I decided, why not do it again? And that's basically how I came up with the idea. I don't have that original sketch that I drew back in college because I think I just drew it on a piece of lined paper, because at that point it was just a sketch and it was for the final piece, which was going to be an etching. So I didn't keep that sketch, I don't think, anywhere. So I figured I could do an artwork literally just with the ballpoint pen and I could frame this. And now that I've drawn it, I'm really happy I drew this on some nice paper. I was thinking about doing it in a sketchbook again just for the video, but now I have a nice finished drawing on some nice paper, and I think it's really cool. So basically you see me in the drawing, I'm just drawing the outline, I'm solidifying it, still having really sketchy and scribbly motions. Since everything's going to be in pen, I figured nice scribbly lines would actually work perfect for the drawing since I can't erase anything. So I just went in with shading. Instead of using hash marks or any other kind of shading like that, I literally just scribbled. So you see me, I'm starting to shade, and basically I'm just doing petal by petal, just shading how it looks. When there's one petal darker than the other, I shade it darker, and I'm trying to be careful not to go over any of those really light edges, and basically just filling it in. Now when it comes to pens, it's kind of difficult because it looks like it's fully saturated. Obviously a pen is just one color, but there's many different things you can do with a pen. You can have really light pressure and it'll come up with really light lines, for instance how the sketch looked. And then when you want to have a medium pressure, it's really easy to just glide your pen really fast on the paper and not really worry about like pressing hard. And when you want really black tones, you can press really hard and scribble, but then you can go in even further than that and make sure you just like wall to wall fill in to get those really black tones. So you see here, I'm kind of struggling just to find my shading. It's hard when you first start shading to know exactly what's your mid-tone and what's your highlights. You don't want to make anything too dark, so a lot of things end up too light. So a lot of these really black areas right now are going to end up being a lot darker later. Well, I guess not much because the pen doesn't get much darker, but I have to go back into a lot of these really black areas to make sure they're really saturated with the ink. So don't be afraid to keep going back into sections you've already finished. And yeah, I think it's pretty fun to sketch with pen. If you've never done it, I would definitely recommend. It doesn't take any immense amount of skill, just perhaps a slight knowledge of how to sketch images or objects. Even if you don't know, just put the pen to paper and see what comes out. Look at something and try to emulate it. Just make sure you're not pressing too hard too quickly, If you're really scared, just press light the whole time and then slowly build up, and eventually just building up with really light strokes will get you to that full saturation of pigment, I believe. And then once you find where your darks are supposed to be, it would be much more easier to go in with a lot of confidence with the pen to press really hard and really get those inks down as saturated as you can. And I never went in with black with this drawing. I felt like it didn't need it. I feel like the monochromatic look is what makes the drawing look cool. It's the fact that it is a ballpoint pen that makes it cool. So I think the nice blue color of like a standard type of ballpoint pen really adds to the effect of this, that it is a pen. It's not just some drawing, it's a pen. No, it's a drawing done with a ballpoint pen, and I really like how it turned out. You can see me going into the details, and everything is kind of one tone. You can see between some of the petals where it's supposed to be darker, it's not as dark as it needs to be, but that's okay. It's okay to leave things as mid-tones before you find exactly where everything is supposed to lie in the drawing. So as I finish up this top area in terms of like my basic guidelines, I end up skipping down lower to the parts that I know are black. There's really big sections that you know are black, and the sections that are the very darkest, you can hop straight in with full pressure in the pen, and that's what I did here. I literally just took the pen and just scribbled just in that area. And when you do that, you don't necessarily want to map out your really black sections and fill them in like a little outline. So as I was filling in the black in that area, I slowly started to blend outwards. I didn't just do a solid shape of black and then fill in the mid-tone after. You want to kind of start blending a little bit before you have the black at the full saturation. I keep saying black, but that's just sort of how I picture it in my head. Obviously this shading is with a blue pen, so it's technically blue, but all of it's blue. So I'm calling it the blacks of my photo because it's the deepest parts of the photo. So you don't want to have like any sort of geometric shapes. Obviously the flower is really organic, and their shadows aren't going to be like squares or really solid shapes. They're going to have soft edges and soft blends. So that's what you're trying to do here. And when it comes to shading with scribbling, I think it's one of the funner ways to shade. The most important thing when you're going to be scribbling with a pen or anything like that is consistency in your lines. Now, for scribbling, it's not as huge of a deal as it is for like cross hatching. If you think of cross hatching, if you do your hatches really thin in one spot and really thick in another, the drawing may look a little uneven. You want to have sort of the same line weight for all of it. Well, actually, perhaps maybe not precisely that, because the line weight isn't as big of a deal as maybe the texture that you're getting. So with hatching, it's a lot easier to not have the texture change because you're just doing a bunch of lines, and lines are always going to look the same. And even if they are lighter or darker lines, they are sort of going to look the same. Now for hatching, you wouldn't want really light and thin lines for one section of the drawing, and then the whole lower part of the drawing have really thick and bold lines. I think that's sort of what I mean here. But for this scribbling, obviously I can't get really thick lines with one pen, but I'm just veering off, forgive me. But with the pen, when you're scribbling, you don't want to have really swirly and swoopy scribbles in one area and then really like zigzaggy scribbles in another. By all means, do your drawing with zigzag lines, but try to keep that consistent, because if you have really swirly lines in one half of your drawing when you first started, but then switch over to zigzags, then when you're looking at your picture, the lines are going to be strange. Like the image isn't going to be completely cohesive, because the top part of the drawing would have potentially been really swirly, and like the blendings might not look the same, because I don't really know how to explain it. If you have really zigzaggy textures, you'll have a lot of points, and even if it just looks like scribbles generally, you're thinking, hey, it looks the same, what's the difference? You want to make sure that the whole thing is cohesive. If you have a lot of scribbles and straight lines in those scribbles, then it's gonna look way different than scribbles that are like swirly and chaotic and stuff. So you can scribble to shade however you want. You can shade however you want with any drawing implement. Just make sure when you're in one drawing, if you're drawing one thing, try to be consistent. Now perhaps if I was drawing something like, I don't know, a trash can behind a flower, in that instance, maybe you could draw the flower with these like really squiggly and like softer kind of lines, but with the more like obviously man-made trash can in the background. Maybe you would want to shade that with squiggles. Maybe you don't want that to look the same as the flower. So for things like that, if you're doing different items, you could change the line and weight, and that would sort of help differentiate, especially for something that's monochromatic. It's nice to do a little something like that to have a little bit of a contrast besides just your shading to rely on, because a flower having organic shapes, it makes more sense for the organic squiggling, but then a trash can might make more sense with the zigzags. But another thing you could do is, if you like the zigzag look, I don't know, maybe I should draw a flower with zigzags or something else with zigzags. Comment down below if you want to see that. But flowers are really soft and organic and gentle and pretty, and the swirly sort of gentle zigzag scratches, what is it called? Like scribbles, yes, of course. But those really like organic type of scribbles where it's just like scribbling generally with your hands, swirly motions, no zigzags, like nothing too sharply angled or anything like that, just literally like squiggles to the direction of the flower or something like that. That sort of fits with what a flower is a lot more. So if you wanted to have a little bit of a juxtaposition, perhaps, maybe you would want to draw a rose with zigzags, and that would change your perception of the rose to be not just this soft organic thing. Maybe it would look a lot more harsh depending on your lines. It just really depends on how you want your finished drawing to look, because if you draw your rose with zigzags, it's going to look different than if you draw your rose with soft squiggly lines. And I just think it's cool that you can draw with anything and make whatever you want look however you like. And yeah, I hope you like how this flower turned out. Let me know if you want to see me draw anything else with a ballpoint pen. It was really fun to draw this. It was fun to just be free, no need for an eraser, no need for anything else besides just the pen and the paper. And if you've never done it before, I highly recommend trying it out. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know. You can email me or DM me on Instagram if you would like a print of this drawing or any drawing. I do custom work too. Just let me know. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one.